Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Tuesday, September 1st, 2015, around 5:39 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. Going to be a good day today. Sun's going to be out, going to be hot. Highs close to 90. Many school systems are starting today. Billerica, Massachusetts. Kids go back to school September 8th. Some news to report before the first subject of the day. The Boston Red Sox beat the New York Yankees by a score of 4-3. Big Poppy David Ortiz hit his career home run, 495. He's 5 more home runs away from 500. The Hudson Valley Renegades beat the Lowell Spinners by the score of 12-6. And it's Happy National Random Acts of Kindness Day in New Zealand. I bet the Bushwhackers and Tony Galea are going to commit random acts of kindness today because they're natives of New Zealand. And that's about it on the news. My first video subject of the day is the return of the top 10 list. The top 10 list of everything and anything. Now I reached the top 10 professional wrestlers that should have had an NWA World title run. The NWA was the most famous professional wrestling organization besides the WWE back in the day. They had a board of directors, and every year they would vote which wrestler would hold the NWA World title. The NWA territories were all over the place. They were regional territories affiliated with the NWA. Eventually the main NWA territory became Jim Crockett Promotions, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, which then evolved to WCW. Eventually, I'm going to do the top 10 wrestlers that should have had a WCW World title reign sometime later on in the week. And now here are the top 10 professional wrestlers that should have had an NWA World title run. Number 10 on this list is Johnny Valentine. Johnny Valentine was one of the most best heels of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He mainly wrestled for Jim Crockett Promotions and stuff. And also he had a run in the WWF in the late 60s and stuff like that. He would have made a good NWA World Champion. Number 9 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World title run. Chief Wahoo McDaniel. Wahoo McDaniel wrestled for so many NWA affiliate territories, mainly in Florida and Georgia Championship Wrestling and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. He probably would have to use his real name, Ed McDonald, for like credibility purposes and stuff like that, because they didn't want the NWA World title to be named for like Wahoo and stuff. He would have been the first Native American World Champion. Number 8 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World title reign, Bruno Sammartino. Bruno in the early 60s wrestled for a lot of territories before coming to win the WWF title in 1963. He actually beat Buddy Rogers in 1962 and was awarded the NWA World title, but he rejected it because Buddy Rogers was injured and stuff like that. But I think Bruno could have made an good NWA World Champion. Number 7 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World title, and Captain Redneck Dick Murdoch. Dick was like considered to be NWA World Champion in the late 1970s and stuff like that, and he would have, I don't know if he would have made a great NWA World Champion. He was a brawler and stuff like that. There's been urban legends that Dick Murdoch was a racist and stuff, that he actually carried a card that he said he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. This has been reported in Tito Santana's book in 2008 and stuff, but it's never been, I don't know if that's true or not, or it could be Dick Murdoch fibbing about that, but Dick Murdoch passed away in 1996, so I keep it at that. Number 6 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World title reign was Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor was like in Mid-South and Mid-Atlantic and stuff, and he had kind of the look to be like a babyface NWA World Champion and stuff like that. When he turned heel in the like late 80s and stuff, he would have been perfect for that role, but when he went to the WWE and became the Red Rooster, that killed his chances. Number 5 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World Title reign, David Von Erich. David was slated to have an NWA World Title reign in 1984, but he passed away in Japan and stuff like that. But he would have made a better NWA World Champion than his brother Kerry. Probably would have had a longer reign than 18 days. Number 4 on this list, the top 10 wrestlers who should have had an NWA World Title reign was Fritz Von Erich. Fritz was like a heel wrestler as a German sympathizer in the 1950s and 60s, but he was really Jack Atkinson, who was from Texas and stuff like that. And the 1966, Jack was the final finalist to be the next NWA World Champion behind Gene Kiniski, but they voted on Kiniski because Fritz Von Erich actually ran the Dallas territory, which would evolve into world-class championship wrestling and stuff. He probably would have had to use the name Jack Atkinson for title credibility, but he eventually became NWA president for a time in the mid-70s, and he voted Terry Funk to become the next NWA World Champion. Number 3 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World Title reign was Nick Bockwinkel. Nick had that classic heel look and stuff, and he was AWA World Champion many times, but he would have probably fit good with an NWA World Title reign in like the early 1970s and stuff like that. And number 2 on this list of the top 10 wrestlers who should have had an NWA World Title reign was Magnum TA, Terry Allen. They were pushing him real hard in the 1980s and stuff. If he did not have that car accident, he probably would have been NWA World Champion probably in 1987, 1988. And number 1 on this list, the top 10 wrestlers that should have had an NWA World Title reign, Ted DiBiase. In the early 1980s, Ted DiBiase was like being seriously considered for NWA World Title reign. In 1981, it was between him and Ric Flair, who was going to be the next NWA World Champion. Jim Crockett did not vote for Ted DiBiase because he wanted Ric Flair and stuff. That got Ted DiBiase so mad because he was trying to get Jim Crockett to sway the vote for him to become NWA World Champion, but that had Ted DiBiase had heat on that. That's why he went to the WWE instead of Jim Crockett Promotions in 1987 when UWF was bought by JCP. That's about it on that. Be back later. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. 2 more video blogs coming your way. First video blog will be about 2015-2016 predictions of the upcoming NFL season. And the third and final video blog of the night will be about Shea Weber. Like I always say, keep calm, everybody. And I'm Julie Guy, Molly Rosenblatt of Fox 35 Rocks, Elizabeth Hart of Local 6 Rocks and has nice legs. And in the words of Sean Lucha, get out. Bye now.